Welcome to Tungal Online Classes. In the last class, we completed the introduction part of the wave optics and also we discussed some theories of the light. The first one is what? Newton-Corpuscular theory. Second one is what? Huygens wave theory of the light. The third one is Maxwell's electromagnetic theory and the last one is what? Quantum theory of the light. In this today lecture, we are going to discuss about the wavefront concept. Wavefront concept. So, what is the wavefront and how can we define the wavefront means? So, the first point is what? According to the Huygens wave theory of the light, if you consider any one of the light source, that a light source will be emitting the disturbance in all the directions. Once again, what is the first point? According to the Huygens wave theory of the light, if you consider any one of the light source, that a light source will be emitting the disturbance in all the directions. So, that is the first point is needed to explain the concept of wavefront. So, first point is what? According to the Huygens wave theory of the light. Huygens wave theory of the light. A light source emits the disturbance in all the directions. To explain the wavefront, some assumptions are needed. So, in that the first one is the what? According to the wave theory of the light, if you consider any one of the light source, that a light source will be emitting the disturbance in all the directions. Next one. Whenever that source will be emitting the disturbance in all the directions, if that disturbance will be traveling in the homogeneous medium or in a given medium, whenever that disturbance will be traveling in the homogeneous medium, that disturbance will be acted over the particles which are present in that medium. So, what is the second point? Whatever the disturbance that is emitted by the given source of the light, that a disturbance will be acted over the particles which are present in that medium. Second point is what? The disturbance is a travel in a given homogeneous medium. The disturbance will be traveled in a given homogeneous medium and it is acted over the particles which are present in that medium. So, whenever any one of the disturbance will be traveling in the given medium, that a disturbance will be acting over the particles which are present in that medium. Now, so which type of particles we have to consider to explain the concept of the wavefront means, here we must consider the particles which are at equidistance from the given source. Which type of particles we have to consider to explain the concept of the wavefront means, we must consider the particles which are at equidistance from the given source. If you consider the particles which are at equidistance from the given source, whenever on those particles, if this disturbance will be acted, they will be vibrating about their mean position in phase. Once again, which type of particles we have to consider? If we consider the particles which are at equidistance, whenever the disturbance will be acted over them, they will be vibrating in phase. So, what is the third point? If we consider the particles which are at equidistance from the given source, when the disturbance is acted over them, they will be vibrating they will be vibrating in phase. They will be vibrating in phase. Like that we have to consider the particles. Again, how we consider the particles? We have to consider the particles, and these particles are at equidistance from the given source. Whenever these particles are at equidistance from the given source, and moreover, whenever the disturbance is acted over those particles are vibrating. Those particles are vibrating in phase. Now, how can we define the wavefront? Means the locus of all the particles which are vibrating in phase, the locus of all the particles which are vibrating in phase with respect to the given source will be calling as wavefront. Will be calling as a what? Wavefront. Once again, how can we define the wavefront? Means the locus of all the particles which are vibrating in phase will be calling as the wavefront of the given light source. The wavefront of the given light source. Like that we have to define the wavefront. So how can we define the wavefront? The locus of all these particles, which are vibrating in phase will be calling as wavefront of a given source of light. So like this we have to define the wavefront of the light. Once again, to explain the concept of the wavefront of the light, what are the different points we consider? Means the first point is what? According to the Huygens wave theory of the light, if you consider any one of the light source, that a light source will be emitting the radiation or a disturbance in all the directions. Whenever this disturbance will be received by the particles which are present in that medium, they will be vibrating. If you consider the particles which are at equidistance from the given source, they will be vibrating in phase. And finally, the locus of all these particles which are vibrating in phase will be calling as a what? Wavefront of the given light source. So this is the basic information about the concept of the wavefront. Types of wavefronts. How many different types of wavefronts we have? Means we have in general 3 different types of the wavefronts. What are they? First one is a what? Spherical wavefront. Second one is a cylindrical wavefront, and the third one is a what? Plane wavefront. How many types of wavefronts we have? 3 different types of wavefronts we have. What are they? First one is a what? Spherical wavefront. Second one is a what? Cylindrical wavefront. Third one is a what? Plane wavefront. Now we will discuss about the spherical wavefront. We will discuss about what? Spherical wavefront. So what is a spherical wavefront and how can we get the spherical wavefront? Means the spherical wavefront will be getting from the point source of the light. The spherical wavefront we are getting from what? Point source of the light. If you consider the point source, we are saying that this point source of the light will be producing what? Spherical wavefront. Already we told what is the wavefront? The locus of all the particles which are at equidistance from the given source, and they will be vibrating in phase. So that to explain the spherical wavefront, I consider the point source. That a point source is nothing but yes. Now, if you consider any one of the light source, the light source will be emitting the light rays or waves or the disturbance in all the directions. If you consider the source, yes, that a light source will be emitting the disturbance in all the directions. Now, to define the wavefront, you must consider the points and they will be equidistant from the given source. So that here I consider different points around the source S, and all these points must be at equidistance. Now we have to take the locus of all these points. That means we have to connect all these points with a curve. So that if you connect all these points if you connect all these points, or if you take the locus of all these points, the locus of all these points will be giving what? A sphere. The locus of all these points will be giving what? Sphere. So like this you will get a spherical wavefront. You will get a spherical wavefront from the given point source of the light. So that how can you get the spherical wavefront? The spherical wavefront will be produced by the point source of the light. If you consider some points around the source S at equidistance, their locus will be existing. Their locus will be existing in the form of a sphere. So that such a type of wavefront, such type of wavefront we are calling as a what? Spherical wavefront. Spherical wavefront. So this is about what? Spherical wavefront. Next, second one is a what? Cylindrical wavefront. Second one is a what? Cylindrical wavefront. So here for the spherical wavefront, what is the source? You told point source of light. Point source of light will be the source of the spherical wavefront. Then how can you get cylindrical wavefront? Means the source of the cylindrical wavefront is nothing but a slit. Slit. So a slit means it is a narrow opening. A slit means a what? A narrow opening. So the slit sources are producing the cylindrical wavefront. Cylindrical wavefront. How can we represent the slit? Means, so it is a very small opening. Very small opening. Through this opening, the light will be propagates. Through this opening, the light will be propagated. Such a type of source of light we are calling as a what? Slit source. Slit source. So that the cylindrical wavefront will be produced by the slit sources. Slit sources. And the third. Next, the third wavefront is a what? A plane wavefront. So what is the source of the plane wavefront? Means we can't define a particular source for the plane wavefront. Then how can you get the plane wavefront? Means, so the plane wavefront is a part of either spherical wavefront, a part of either spherical wavefront or cylindrical wavefront, which are coming from the very distant object, Such type of wavefront we are calling as plane wavefront. How can we define the plane wavefront? Plane wavefront will be the either the part of the spherical wavefront or the part of the cylindrical wavefront. So that it is the part of either spherical wavefront. It is the part of either spherical wavefront or cylindrical wavefront, which are coming from a distant source. That means if you consider the source will be placed at infinite distance, from the infinite distance, if the spherical wavefront will be coming to here, so that a spherical wavefront will be appears in the form of a plane wavefront. Or if the cylindrical wavefront will be coming from the infinite source, that wavefront is also appear to be in the form of a plane wavefront. So that for the plane wavefront, there is no particular source will be there. It is simply the part of either spherical wavefront or cylindrical wavefront. Suppose if the light will be coming from the infinite source, that incident beam of the light also we know a parallel beam of the light. Incident beam of light is calling as what? Parallel beam of the light. On the parallel beam of the light, if you consider the particles, on the parallel beam of the light, their locus will be giving the plane wavefront. Their locus will be giving what? Plane wavefront. Like this we have to consider, we have to define the plane wavefront. What is the definition of the plane wavefront? It is just a part of the spherical wavefront or cylindrical wavefront which are coming from distinct sources. So to explain the plane wavefront, here I consider a parallel beam of the light. Parallel beam of the light means what? Which is coming from the infinite source. So that over the parallel beam of the light points, the locus of their points will be giving what? Plane wavefront. So this is different types of the wavefronts: spherical wavefront, cylindrical wavefront, as well as plane wavefront. Huygens principle. So what is the Huygens principle means? According to the Huygens principle, if you consider any one of the point on the primary wavefront, these points will be acting as a sources for the secondary wavelet. That is the first point which is given by the Huygens principle. So according to the Huygens principle, if we consider any point on the primary wavefront, these points are acting as a sources for the secondary wavelets. So how can you get the primary wavefront? The primary wavefront will be getting from the primary source. Like that, over the primary wavefront, if you consider any one of the point, these points will be acting as a sources for the secondary wavelets. Next one, and these secondary sources will producing the disturbance. These secondary sources will producing the disturbance in all the directions, which is similar to the primary sources. If you consider the point source, suppose that a point source will be producing the spherical wavefront, and that spherical wavefront will be distributed in all the directions. The disturbance will be traveling in all the directions. Like that, over the primary wavefront, if you consider any one of the point, that point will be acting as a sources for the secondary wavelets, and these sources are sending the disturbances in all the directions which are similar to the primary sources. So that is the first point according to the Huygens principle. Now, whenever they will be sending the disturbance in all the directions, they will also producing the wavefronts. How can you get the secondary wavefront position? Means the position of the secondary wavefront, is given by the position of the secondary wavefront will be given by the envelope of all the secondary wavelets. So how can you get the position of the secondary wavefront? Means the position of the secondary wavefront will be given by the envelope of or the locus of all the secondary wavelets. Like that, we have to get secondary wavefront. So these are the principles of the Huygens. What is the first point? According to him, if you consider any one of the point on the primary wavefront, they will be acting as the secondary sources, and they will be producing the secondary wavelets. These secondary wavelets are produced, or they will be moving in all the directions. And how can you get the position of the secondary wavefront? Means it is simply the envelope of all the secondary wavelets. See here. According to the Huygens principle, he considered the point source. Yes. According to the Huygens principle, he considered the point source. Whenever you consider the point source, yes, or the primary source, yes, it will be producing the primary wavefront. So here, what I was assumed that S will be the primary point source, which is producing the spherical wavefront AB. So here, AB will be taking as a primary wavefront. AB will be taking as a primary wavefront. Now, according to the Huygens principle, if you consider any one of the point on this primary wavefront, those points will be acting as a secondary sources for the secondary wavelets. So here I consider different points PQRS. I consider what? Different points PQRS on the primary wavefront. Here AB will be indicating what? AB will be indicating the primary wavefront. According to the Huygens principle, I consider one primary wavefront. Over that primary wavefront, I indicated four different points. Now, according to the Huygens principle, these points P, Q, R, S will be acting as a secondary sources. Whenever they will be acting as the secondary sources, they will be producing the secondary wavelets. They will be producing what? Secondary wavelets. So the secondary wavelets which are produced by P, Q, R, S will be represented like this. So these circles are representing, these spheres are representing what? Secondary wavelets which are produced by the secondary point sources. So these are indicating what? Secondary wavelets. All these are indicating what? Secondary wavelets which are produced by the secondary sources P, Q, R, S. Now, according to the last point, the position of the secondary wavefront will be given by the envelope of all the secondary wavelets. See here, I am indicating the envelope of all the secondary wavelets with a dotted line. See here. So let it be, this is A dash, B dash, this is A double dash, B double dash. So from the figure, A dash, B dash will be the first envelope and A double dash, B double dash will be the second envelope. So that according to the Huygens principle, if you made an envelope over the secondary wavelets, these envelopes will be giving the position of the secondary wavefront. These envelopes are giving what? Position of the secondary wavelets. So that here A dash, B dash, comma, A double dash, B double dash will be indicating the secondary wavefronts. See here, if you consider S will be the point source, the disturbance will be always moving away from the source S. Always the disturbance will be moving in which direction? Away from the source S. So that the motion of the primary wavefront or the disturbance will be moving towards the right side direction. But in this figure, you have two types of wavefronts. One is A dash, B dash, another one is what? A double dash, B double dash. In this, A dash, B dash will be indicating the backward secondary wavefront. A dash, B dash will be indicating what? Backward secondary wavefront, and A double dash, B double dash will be indicating the forward secondary wavefront. And Huygens one more assumption he was made, that there is no existence of the backward secondary wavefront. That is assumptions made by the Huygens. So according to him, only one secondary wavefront will be existing, that is nothing but forwarding wavefront A double dash, B double dash. That is calling as a what? Huygens principle. So once again see here, according to the Huygens principle, what is the first point? If you consider any one of the point on the primary wavefront, they will be acting as the secondary sources and they will be producing the secondary wavelets. Next, the envelope which is made by all the secondary wavelets will be giving the position of the secondary wavefront. So this is about Huygens principle. Concept, refraction of a plane wave by using the Huygens principle. In the case of the ray optics, we studied about the refraction of the light. So what is the refraction of the light? Whenever the light ray will be traveling from one medium to the another medium, its path will be deviates, and whenever the light ray will be undergoing the refraction, that a refracted light ray will be obeying the Snell's law of refraction. Snell's law of refraction. What is the Snell's law of the refraction? Mu1 sin I is equal to mu2 sin R. What is the mu1 comma mu2? Mu1 will be indicating the refractive index of the first medium, and mu2 will be indicating the refractive index of the second medium. And what is the I comma R? In the ray optics we said that if a light ray will be undergoing the refraction, I denotes angle of incidence for the incident light ray, and small r will be denoting the angle of refraction for the incident light ray. But in the case of the wave optics, we are discussing about the refraction of the plane wave. Refraction of the plane wave. So that instead of the light ray here, what we consider a plane wave front will be considered. A plane wave front will be considered. That a plane wave front will be incidenting on the refracting surface PQ. Here a PQ will be assuming as plane refracting surface. Onto the plane refracting surface, one plane wave front will be incidenting. Not the light ray was incident, single light ray. Here we consider the plane wave front will be incidenting. From the given diagram, AB will be indicating the incident plane wave front. Incident plane wave front. So that here what we assume, in the given diagram, AB is indicating what? Incident plane wave front. Incident plane wave front. So whenever this incident plane wave front will be incidenting on the refracting surface, what he was saying that a plane wave front will be undergoing the phenomena of the refraction. So if it is undergoing the phenomena of the refraction, we have to derive the equation mu1 sin I is equal to mu2 sin R. So this was explained by whom? Huygens. So according to the Huygens principle, he explained the refraction of the plane wave front. If you look at the diagram, here this AB is indicating what? Incident plane wave front. Incident plane wave front. According to the Huygens principle, each and every point along the plane wave front or the primary wave front, each and every point along the primary wave front or plane wave front will be acting as a secondary sources for the secondary wavelets. What is the Huygens first principle? According to the Huygens first principle, if you consider any one of the wave front, that is the spherical wave front, cylindrical, or whatever the plane wave front also. So if you consider any one of the wave front, over the wave front, if you able to consider some of the points, those points will be acting as the secondary sources. If you observe the diagram clearly, AB will be indicating the plane wave front. Here I consider 2 points A comma B only. How many points I consider here? 2 points at the edges of the plane wave front. I consider the 2 points A comma B. So from this given figure, we clearly said that whatever the particles are present at the point A, those particles will be strikes the refracting surface earlier than the particles which are present at the point B. Once again, if you observe the diagram, the point A will be striking the PQ surface earlier and the point B will be striking the PQ surface later. Why? Here, whenever the plane wave front will be incident by making an angle of I with respect to the normal, the particles which are present at the point A will be striking the refracting surface earlier, and the particles which are present at the point B will be striking the same refracting surface by taking a certain amount of the time. So that I am assuming that the time taken by the particles to reach the refracting surface PQ will be capital T. What I am assuming that initially which particles are striking the refracting surface? The particles which are present at the point A will be striking the refracting surface earlier. Later, the particles which are present at the point B will be striking the refracting surface PQ. So I am assuming that the time taken by the particles to reach the refracting surface of PQ which are located at the point B will be taken as a capital T. So that what is the T? I am assuming that time taken by the particles at B to reach the refracting surface refracting surface PQ. What I am assuming that initially the particles at A will be striking the surface earlier, later which particle will be striking the surface PQ means the particles which are present at the point B. I am assuming that the particles which are present at the point B will be taking a time of t seconds, In that t seconds time, whenever the particles at the point A will be striking the refracting surface, this point A will be acting as a secondary source of the light. That point A will be acting as a secondary source of the light. That only Huygens was told. If you consider any one of the point on the primary wavefront, that point will be acting as a secondary source of the light. Since the particle A will be striking the PQ surface earlier, so that point A will be considered as secondary source of the light. Point A will be acting as a point source of the light. The point A will be acting as a point source of the light, so that point source of the light will be producing the spherical waveframes. The point source will be producing which type of wavefront? Spherical wavefront. Be indicating what? Refracted light ray. This light ray will be indicating what? Refracted light ray. So that from the point C onto the secondary wavefront, if you draw a tangent, that tangent will be representing the secondary wavefront. So that in the given diagram, CD will be indicating what? Refracted plane wavefront. CD indicating what? Refracted plane wavefront. So that the meaning of this is what? In a time of t seconds, the secondary wavefront which is produced by the secondary source will be traveled this much distance. What is the AD? Distance traveled by the secondary wavelet. Distance traveled by the secondary wavelet in a time of t seconds in the secondary refracting medium. So that from the given diagram, AD is indicating what? Distance traveled by the secondary wavelets in a t seconds. That is, AD is equal to, distance is equal to speed into time. What is the speed of the light we have to assume in the second medium? V2 will be indicating the speed of the light in the second medium, and V1 will be indicating what? Speed of the light in the first medium. So that the distance traveled by the light in a time of t seconds in the second medium will be given by distance AD is equal to what? V2 into T. Next, in the same time interval of t seconds, the particles at the point B will be reaching the point C. So that the distance traveled by the incidental light rays, in the first medium, in a time of t seconds will be given by BC. What is the BC? Directly I am writing distance traveled by the incident plane wavefront. In the first medium in a time of t seconds. Therefore, BC is equal to V1 into T. BC is equal to what? V1 into T. What is the AD here? Distance traveled by the light in the second refracting medium in a time of t seconds. BC is indicating what? Distance traveled by the plane wavefront in the first medium in a time of t seconds. Now, look at the diagram. So, this is the first normal. This is the incidental light ray. This incident light ray will be making an angle I with respect to the normal. So that I will be indicating what? Angle of incidence. If this value will be I, this angle is also equal to I. That angle is also equal to what? I. Next. This is a refractor light ray. This refractor light ray will be making an angle of refraction R with respect to this normal. If this angle is equal to R, this angle at C also equal to what? R. So that from the given diagram, we will write angle at A is equal to I. Angle at A is equal to what? I. Angle at C is equal to R. Angle at A is equal to I. Angle at C is equal to R. Now, see here. I consider the triangle ABC. I consider which triangle? Triangle ABC. This triangle I am taking. From the triangle ABC, I will write sin I value. Sin I value. Sin I value, this angle will be the 90 degrees, so that it is the hypotenuse. Sin I is equal to opposite side by hypotenuse. Sin I is equal to BC by AC. Sin I is equal to what? BC by AC. What is the BC value? BC value is equal to V1 into T. BC value is equal to what? V1 into T by AC. AC value we don't know. Next. Again we consider the another triangle. Triangle ADC. Triangle ADC. From the triangle A or CD. Triangle ACD. I will take sin R. Sin R is equal to what? Sin R is equal to what? Opposite side AD by hypotenuse AC. Opposite side by hypotenuse AC. What is the AD value here? AD value is equal to V2 into T. Therefore, AD value is equal to V2 into T by AC. So, from this I will take sin I by sin R. Sin I by sin R is equal to what? AC will be getting cancelled. TT will be getting cancelled. You will get V1 by V2. Sin I by sin R is equal to what you got? V1 by V2. Now, what is the mu1 here? Mu1 will be indicating the refractive index of the first medium. Mu2 will be indicating what? Refractive index of the second medium. How can we define the refractive index of any one of the medium? Refractive index is equal to speed of the light in the vacuum by speed of the light in the given medium. In the refractive index is equal to speed of the light in the vacuum by speed of the light in the medium. So for the first medium, we will take mu1 is equal to speed of the light in the vacuum will be taken as a C0 and speed of the light in the given medium will be taken as a what? V1 here. So that mu1 is equal to C0 by V1 and mu2 is equal to C0 by V2. Why? We assumed that V1 comma V2 are indicating the speed of the light in the first medium comma second medium respectively. So from these two we will write mu2 by mu1 is equal to C0 by V2 by C0 by V1. So therefore you will get mu2 by mu1 value is equal to what? V1 by V2. From equation 3 comma 4, mu2 by mu1 is equal to V1 by V2, sin I by sin R is equal to what? V1 by V2. So we will write sin I by sin R is equal to what? Mu2 by mu1. Because on the right side term will be remain same, so that I am equating the left side term. Sin I by sin R is equal to what? Mu2 by mu1. Cross multiplying this, so you will get mu1 sin I is equal to what? Mu2 sin R. So which is indicating what? Snell's law of refraction. So that by considering the Huygens principle, we derived the condition of the refraction, that is nothing but Snell's law. So according to the Huygens principle, successfully we explain the refraction of a plane wave whenever it is striking the plane refracting surfaces. So this is about what? Refraction of a plane wave by using the Huygens principle. Reflection of a plane wave by using the Huygens principle. Just now what we explained now, refraction of a plane wave by using the Huygens principle. So if any one of the plane wave will be undergoing the refraction, what is the condition needed? It will be obeying the Snell's law of refraction, that is mu1 sin A is equal to what? Mu2 sin R. So here also, if you consider any one of the plane wave, they are saying that a plane wave will be undergoing the reflection phenomena. That a plane wave will be undergoing what? Reflection phenomena. So if any one of the light ray will be undergoing the reflection, so what are the conditions of the reflection? The first condition is angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. Angle of incidence is equal to what? Angle of reflection. If you verify that relation by this given diagram, so we will say that the incident plane wave is also obeying the phenomena of the reflection of the light. So for that purpose, once again here we consider the plane wave. We consider what? Plane wave which is incidenting on perfect reflecting surface PQ, which is incidenting on what? Perfect reflecting surface PQ. So that here PQ will be indicating what? PQ will be indicating a reflecting surface, a plane reflecting surface, plane reflecting surface. Next, onto this plane reflecting surface, we are incidenting the incident plane wave. Incident plane wave. On that incident plane wave, once again we consider a plane wave front AB. So that in that given diagram, AB will be indicating what? AB will be indicating what? Incident plane wave front. Incident plane wave front. So whenever the plane wavefront will be coming towards our plane reflecting surface, once again if you observe that the particles which are present at the point A, they will be striking the surface PQ by earlier than the particles which are present at the point B. So that the particles which are present at the point B will be taking some time, to striking the plane refracting surface PQ. So that I am assuming that the time taken by the particles which are present at the point B to reach the plane refracting surface PQ will be taken as capital T. So that what we are assuming that capital T will be indicating the time taken by the particles which are present at the point B to reach the plane reflecting surface PQ. What I am assuming here? I am assuming the capital T will be what? Time taken by the particles which are present at the point B for reaching the plane reflecting surface PQ. In that time interval of capital T seconds, the particles which will be striking the PQ surface earlier, they will be producing the secondary wavelets. Once again, in the time interval of T seconds, for that what? The particles which are present at the point B, they will be reaching the surface of PQ in a time interval of T seconds. In that time interval, the particles which are earlier striking the PQ surface, they will be producing the secondary wavelets. These secondary wavelets are traveling into the same medium in the backward direction. Why? Whatever the considered surface is a reflecting surface, so there is no refraction will be takes place. Whenever the particles at the point A will be striking the reflecting surface, they will be producing the secondary wavelets. Since the particles will be considered as the point sources of the light, they will be producing the spherical wavefront. So this is the form of the spherical wavefront which is produced by the secondary sources. On to this secondary wavefront, if you draw a normal CD, that CD will be indicating the reflected plane wavefront. From that given diagram, so CD will be representing what? CD will be representing reflected plane wavefront. CD will be representing what? Reflected plane wavefront. If a CD will be representing the reflected plane wavefront, so from this given diagram, the secondary wavelets will be traveling some more distance. The secondary wavelets are traveling some more distance into the same medium in a time of T seconds. So that AD will be representing distance traveled by the secondary wavefront into the same medium in a time of T seconds. So what is the AD will be referenced from the given figure? AD will be representing the distance traveled by the secondary wavefront in a time of T second into the same incident medium. So that from the given figure, AD value is equal to what? Since the reflection will be takes place in the same medium, so we are assuming that the speed of the light in the given medium is equal to what? V. Therefore, distance AD is equal to, we will write V into T. Distance AD is equal to what? V into T. Next. So, what is the T? Actually, we assume time taken by the particles which are present at the point B to reach the reflecting surface PQ, so that the distance traveled by the particles which are placed at the point P, which are placed at the point B in a time of t seconds is given by BC is equal to V into T. BC is equal to what? V into T. Now, look at the triangle ABC I consider. Which triangle I consider? Triangle ABC. So, if this angle of incidence value is equal to I, the angle at A is also equal to what? I. So, from the given diagram, if this angle of incidence value which is made by the plane wavefront with respect to the normal will be I, this angle is also equal to what? I. So, that I consider the triangle ABC. From the triangle ABC, I will write sin I is equal to what? Opposite side BC by AC. Sin I is equal to what? BC by AC. What is the BC value? V into T. Therefore, sin I is equal to V into T by AC. Equation number 1. Next. I am assuming that the reflected wavefront which is reflected into the same medium will be making some other angle with respect to the second normal. That angle which is made by the reflected wavefront with respect to the second normal will be assuming as R0. What is the R0? Angle made by the reflected plane wavefront with respect to the second normal, that will be taken as a what? R0. Now, I consider the triangle ACD. From the triangle ACD, so this is the angle of reflection I am taking, that is indicating with the what? R0. Therefore, R0 is equal to sin R0 is equal to angle we consider here a triangle ACD will be considered. From the triangle ACD, I am taking the sin angle. Sin R0 is equal to opposite side by hypotenuse. Therefore, sin R0 is equal to what? AD by AC. So, which is also equal to what? VT by AC. Equation number 2. So, what you got? Sin I is equal to VT by AC. Sin R0 is equal to what? VT by AC once again. From equation 1, 2, we will write sin I is equal to sin R. Sin R0. Sin I is equal to what? Sin R0. If sin I is equal to sin R0, we will write angle of incidence is equal to what? Angle of reflection. So, this is our required condition. If any one of the light ray will be undergoing the reflection phenomena, we will prove that angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. Then that a plane wavefront will be undergoing the reflection, which is explained by using the Huygens principle. So, this is Doppler effect in light. Already in the waves topics, we studied about the Doppler effect in the sound. There we consider that due to the relative motion between the source and observer, the frequency heard by the observer will be changes. Such a phenomena we are calling as a what? Doppler effect in the sound. In the case of the Doppler effect in the light also, due to the relative motion between the source of the light and observer, whatever the either frequency or wavelength of the light received by the observer will be changes. What is that? Due to the relative motion between the source of the light and the observer, the frequency or wavelength of the light which was received by the observer will be changes. Such a phenomena we are calling as a what? Doppler effect in the light. So, how can we define the Doppler effect? Due to the relative motion between source and observer. Source means what? Source of light and observer. There will be a change in either frequency or the wavelength of light which is received by the observer. Such a phenomena is called as Doppler effect in light. So what is the definition of the Doppler effect in the light? Due to the relative motion between the source of the light and the observer, there will be a change in frequency or wavelength of the light, whatever the light will be received by the observer. Such a phenomena we are calling as a what? Doppler effect in the light. Here, next definition will be blue shift. Blue shift. What is the blue shift and when the blue shift will be existed means? Whenever the distance of separation between the source of the light and the observer, whenever the distance of separation between the source of the light and observer will be decreases, either the frequency will be increases or the wavelength of the light will be decreases. So what is that? Whenever the distance of separation between the source of the light and the observer will be decreases, whatever the light will be received by the observer, its frequency value will be either increases or wavelength of the light will be decreases. So whenever the wavelength of the light will be decreases, whatever the spectral lines which are existed in the electromagnetic spectrum, they will be shifting towards the blue end. They will be shifting towards the blue end. Such phenomena we are calling as a what? Blue shift. So when the blue shift will be existing means whenever the distance of separation between the source and observer was decreasing, as a result frequency increases or wavelength will be decreases. When the wavelength will be decreases, whatever the spectral lines are exist in the electromagnetic spectrum, they will be shifting towards the blue end. Such a phenomena we are calling as a what? Blue shift. So that when the distance between source of the light and observer is decreasing, then what happens? The frequency of light increases or wavelength of the light decreases. Whenever the distance of separation between the observer and source decreases, what happens? Either frequency increases or wavelength will be decreases. When it will happens, the spectral lines are shifted towards blue end in electromagnetic spectrum. Whenever the frequency increases or the wavelength will be decreases, spectral ends are shifting towards a what? Blue end in the electromagnetic spectrum. This phenomena is called as blue shift. That phenomena will be calling as a what? Blue shift. So when it is existing, distance of separation decreases, frequency increases, wavelength will be decreases. Next definition, red shift. When the red shift will be existing means whenever the distance of separation between the source and observer will be increases. So what is the first point? Distance of separation between the source of the light and observer will be increases. So whenever the distance of separation between the source and observer will be increases, what happens? Frequency value decreases or wavelength value increases. Whenever the distance of separation between the source observer was increases, either frequency value decreases or wavelength value increases. Whenever the wavelength value will be increases, the spectral lines are moving towards the higher wavelengths. That means the spectral lines are shifted towards the red end. The spectral lines are shifted towards the what? Red end in the electromagnetic spectrum. Such a phenomena we are calling as a what? A red shift. Between the source observer was increases, as a result the frequency of the light will be decreases or the wavelength of the light will be increases, whatever the light will be received by the observer. So whenever the wavelength will be increases, the spectral lines are shifted towards the red end in the case of the electromagnetic spectrum. Such a phenomena we are calling as a what? Red shift. So what is the applications of this Doppler effect in the light means? So this Doppler effect in the light will be used in the case of the radar system. Doppler effect in the light is what? Radar. So what is the radar? The full form of the radar is radio detection and ranging. What is the full form of the radar? Radio detection and ranging. So that the full form of the radar is radio detection and ranging. For which purpose we are using the radars means to identify the position as well as the speed of the aeroplane, to detect the positions of the aeroplane as well as to find the speed of the aeroplanes, we are using the radar system. For which purpose we are using the radar system? To find the position of aeroplanes as well as to calculate or to measure the speed of the aeroplane. For that purpose, in general, we are using the radar system. Using the radar system, from the transmitter we have to send a very high frequency radio waves. Which type of waves we are using the radar means? Radio waves. We are sending these radio waves from the transmitter towards the aeroplane. They will be striking the surface of the aeroplane and they will be reflected back and they will be received by the receivers in the radio stations. So that we are sending the signals from the transmitter and we are receiving the signals from the receiver in the radio station. By analyzing their frequencies, we have to identify the position of the aeroplane as well as the speed of the moving aeroplane. So how can we calculate? The speed of the moving aeroplane will be delta nu by nu is equal to 2 into Vs by c. How can we calculate the speed of the aeroplane means? By using the formula delta nu by nu is equal to 2 into Vs by c. So what is the delta nu? Change in frequency. The initial frequency we are sending towards the aeroplane by using the transmitter and the reflected waves are received by using the receiver. So that by analyzing the incident frequency as well as the received frequency, we have to calculate the change in frequency, and here nu will be indicating what? Whatever the frequency signals we are sending from the transmitter, their frequency will be what? Nu, and c is indicating what? Speed of the light. By using that formula, we have to calculating the speed of the given aeroplane. So this is about applications of the Doppler effect in the light. Thank you.